You're listening to The Sizzle on Iron Skillet Radio and Iron Skillet Television.
Here's one thing we do need to talk about, gentlemen. And I'm going to say it because I'm that kind of guy. I can say it.
Yeah.
Zach Levine is having surgery. He's going to get his knee looked at. You've got Lonzo Ball, who's getting his knee looked at and making sure he's healthy. We've talked about this ad nauseum. There have been many who say that Bulls cannot afford to lose Zach Levine. But what say you, gentlemen, on Zach Levine being a candidate for a max contract for the Chicago Bulls?
I like it. I think he should be a max player.
He's going to get it.
Now, perspective-wise, I think that's a conversation that they need to sit down and have and say, hey, we want you and we're willing to give this to you, but understand you limit our options moving forward. As far as putting other pieces around you, we're going to have to win with exactly what we got, injuries or not. I still think he's deserving of it. It's a funny thing because the Bulls, I won't say they gambled on him. I mean, they got what they could with the whole Jimmy Butler trade. And I don't think anyone knew. They knew Zach Levine had potential. I don't think they knew he had that much potential, but they won on that on that front. And they paid the price once because I thought they overpaid him the first time they started paying. This time, not so much maybe. And even your star player in DeRozan is saying, hey, this guy deserves to be paid. It's a great adding chip for him. So, yeah, I think he's been the anchor for that team for a couple of years. He was the man when there was nothing else there. And now you have potential, if that team is healthy, to make the East at least honest and recognize who you are. They are a threat to the East. They may not be a contender, but they're definitely a threat. And if you want to keep it like that, you're going to have to keep him.
Yeah, well, Jay, I'm going to say this. Zach Levine is paid under $20 million, which is a bargain for anybody who's an all-star in the league. But he's also the centerpiece of this Bulls franchise. If you're going to go anywhere, if you're really going to pull anybody in, you're going to have him as good PR for the rest of the league. The question is, with what they've got right now, you don't see, like with a Memphis team, you don't see a young upcoming team. You just see some guys they've put together that seem now to work together. Can you afford to play around with Zach Levine, trying to think about moving him or not re-signing him if you're the Bulls?
Problem is that DeMar DeRozan was the worst thing that happened to the Bulls. And let me tell you why. It's because he came in and played beyond the expectations, right? So before that, you saw Zach Levine playing where you thought he was going to be, right? Before DeMar DeRozan, where he was basically their offense, basically. So now, all of a sudden, in fantasy Candyland, we think DeMar DeRozan and Zach Levine somehow are going to have this convergence, and they're going to meet at the apex of their peakness, and all of a sudden you're going to have this junior super duo tromping through the East, along with Lonzo Ball serving up, balls on a platter to him, and then you're going to have, the rest of the complement of the Chicago Bulls play well. No, not going to happen. You got a DeMar DeRozan that I think he shot his best shot. That was it. I don't think you're going to see this offensive output out of DeMar DeRozan again. Zach Levine, an oft-injured now Zach Levine, we see, can he hold up under the NFL, the NBA, for 82 games and playing at a high level? This is a problem for them. And now you also got Lonzo Ball. They need Lonzo Ball. Lonzo Ball is the linchpin to this Bears, Lord help me, to these Bulls offense, because he is a guy that's going to push the basketball and distribute the ball, and he's an anchor on defense for them. There's a lot of guys got to play at their potential for the Bulls to even have an opportunity to sniff the East, because everybody's got to go through Milwaukee. Everybody's going to go through Milwaukee. And if you don't have enough to take down, and I don't say at the Bulls' peak, performance, could they beat Milwaukee in a series? And I think both of you gentlemen will say no. That's where we are. I think you see the Bulls, I think you just see the Bulls coming back and playing well out there, not going to get the start that they had this year. And then you got to work. Is Zach Levine with that knee? Is he going to get rehab and come back? And like Rich said, he's deserving of paying, but do you want to pay him? Because this is team going anywhere. Because say Zach Levine is 80%, 85% Zach Levine. Is that going to be enough to carry you over the top? Because you're not going to get this output for DeMar DeRozan again. So I just don't. I think they gambled and got the guys into the playoffs. So it was great for them to do that. But in the long run, I don't know, because you got to grow these guys from inside. And you don't see any of these guys that the Bulls have right now inside their draft picks. Patrick Williams, who really, a bad draft pick, like a high draft pick like that, is the same thing that happens when you draft a bad quarterback. That can set your team back for 5 or 6 years. And I think this bad high draft pick, Patrick Williams, because I don't think this guy is going to be – I think he's going to be an NBA player, but I don't think he's going to be a superstar. And at 4, they needed that. They don't need a complimentary player. They need a player. And I just don't think he's that guy. So
talking about Patrick Williams.
Williams.
The Bulls do have the 18th pick of this year's draft. Some might say, well, that's not a top 10 pick, but there's still the availability for good talent back there. So it's not all at a loss. They can still add to their team, especially knowing you have a core. So when you have a good core, and that's, like I said, we maxed out Zach's contract, all that good stuff. You got Lonzo, Zach, Rosen, maybe Patrick Williams, and you got Booch, right? What position behind them or whatever like that do you feel like that you need? And that's how you can draft based on where you feel. I think a lot of people will agree like the big position is what they really need. So you can bypass all the other pleasantries and just go straight for the best big in the draft at 18 and just go from there. It's an interesting – I think they're in a good position, regardless of, like you said, the contract talks and negotiations. Is the road tough going through Milwaukee? Absolutely. But next year, can we make it interesting? Yeah, sure can.
Hey, Rich, to your point, they look like they can be good. I mean, they look like they can, but they really lack one glaring thing. They don't have a Kyle Korver on this team. They don't have a Paxson on this team. They don't have a Craig Hodges on this team, a guy who could come up and stretch this defense out to give these slashers and attackers an opportunity to get to the basket. We see with Golden State, these guys aren't even slashers and attackers, but because they can set up on the perimeter, they give Poole, Wiggins, they give these guys direct line drives to the basket, which makes them dangerous, right? Wiggins is not somebody who's going to beat you one-on-one, but because he's moving to the basket, these guys get a lot of layups. The Bulls cannot manufacture those layups right now. That's the big – they can run, but they can't manufacture these back-cutting layups, and I just don't see them doing it with an outside shooter, and you don't have one. And until they fix that glaring problem that they have, until they get a dead-eye dick out here to shoot the basketball for them, until they get that, I think they're going to be in a position they're always going to be – as long as Giannis is in the league, it's going to be a tough road to hoe. I think, Giannis might have it locked down for the next 5 or 6 years.
Well, one of the things we look at, I think the biggest position where there's issues is at the 5 for them. Vooch is regressing, and unless he's able to come back to a fountain of youth over the summer, be able to work on his feet because he gets plotted and stuck right there, he is your weak link right now because once you saw they had shooting, to Jay's point, when you had Lonzo Ball, who was shooting at over 45% from 3 when he was on the floor, everything was honest. You had lanes, you had defenses that had good rotations, but you still got a problem at rim protection. You have no rim protection, and you have no distance shooting. So those are the two things. Even hopefully Kobe White can come back, and maybe Kobe White needs to be a Steph Curry acolyte and just start shooting threes and be that stretch player. I don't know.
He wants to be that.
He wants to, so just let him do that. But I think their number 18 pick is sitting right there at the University of Illinois this year, and he was one of Io's running mates. I think if you're going to look for a young man to put in that spot at that 18, you go get an athletic 7-footer, guaranteed 7-footer, and then you start working it that way. And then maybe you can work he and Patrick Williams and Io, because at some point Io is going to have to take over at something. At the 2 or at the point, he's going to have to be something. I don't know what he's going to be, but he's going to be something. And that's where you're going to run with the Bulls. And then they're going to get slapped up by the Bucks for the next at least 3 years.
The problem with the Bulls right now, you just don't have a guy who's exceptional at something. Yes. An exceptional shooter and a exceptional rim protector, exceptional rebound. Even though Vooch was number 5, I think, in the league this year in rebounds.
Mm-hmm.
So he was getting rebounds, but you didn't see him like, oh, that guy's really rebounding basketball. He was picking up a lot of trash.
He's like Kevin Love. He's a great stats guy. He's that dude that is a great stats guy. And with that said, we've wrapped up our NBA's view and we've talked about the playoffs. So the Golden State Warriors are going to devastate. The Suns are going to show you why they're hot. And the Bucks are just going to buck everybody up. And you're just going to get bucked up. It's pretty much, that's all I can say. Yeah.
About that.
I mean,
it'll be an epic final.
And this is an epic show. This was a show we've talked about being bucked up and Lonzo Ball serving balls on a platter. So with all that said, this is the show that we needed for the NBA. We need to talk about this and have this conversation about who's doing what as far as the NBA is concerned. You know who's in the building. He's Rich Sizzle. I'm G Sizzle. He's J Sizzle. We are the Sizzle Brothers. Make sure that you're liking, subscribing, and that you're hitting that button for notifications. Hit the thumbs up. Hit the like button. Find us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and even on Twitch. Yes, sir.
And by the way, we're going to have some special news coming up in the summertime with the Sizzle. We got some, looks like we're going to have some new locations and digs for us coming out of, and so that's going to be special. So you guys keep your eye open for that. It's going to be a lot of fun, and especially a way for you to interact with us regularly. So it's going to be good. Going to have fun.
That's right, baby. So make sure, again, that you're hitting us on TikTok, Twitch, Instagram, and Twitter, and make sure that you're following our content on YouTube. We are the Sizzle, the hottest talk in the 219. We are the talk of the 219 here at Iron Skillet Sports. We appreciate and thank you for being a part of our family, and we love you as much as you love us because we love y'all. That's what we do. We do it for y'all. So you know what it is. You know who it is. And we will see you, our friends, on the other side.
Make sure that you follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Iron Skillet Sports. And remember to like, share, and subscribe to Iron Skillet Sports on YouTube at Iron Skillet Sports.